The grand ballroom shimmered under the glow of crystal chandeliers, filled with the laughter of the elite. Waiters glided across the marble floor, serving champagne to guests in glittering gowns and tailored suits. Among them stood Claire, the picture of elegance, tall, blonde, and wrapped in a golden dress that sparkled with every movement. Her sharp eyes scanned the crowd until they landed on a young woman in a simple yet graceful purple dress, holding a clipboard and quietly doing her work. With a cold smirk, Claire stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chatter. "Shut up, you gold digger," she hissed, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and phones quickly came up to record. The young woman froze, her face pale, gripping her clipboard tighter. She didn't respond. But the humiliation in her eyes was clear. Guests whispered, some amused, others uncomfortable. Claire thought she had one, towering over her target with the confidence of someone untouchable. But as the minutes ticked by, the atmosphere began to shift. A man of striking presence entered the room, his gaze locked on the scene. His next words would turn the entire ballroom upside down and leave Claire on her knees. All eyes followed the man as he walked in, his presence commanding the room without a single word. He was dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit, his expression unreadable but his focus never wavering from the two women at the center of the growing commotion. Whispers spread like wildfire. Some guests recognized him instantly, while others leaned in to ask who he was. The young woman in the purple dress finally looked up, her eyes meeting his. A flicker of relief crossing her face. Claire straightened her shoulders, pretending not to be rattled. She raised her chin, assuming he was just another guest who would take her side. After all, she was used to people agreeing with her, especially in a room like this. But there was something about the way he studied her that made her grip her glass a little tighter. Around them, the guests shifted, sensing the tension building. A few recorded on their phones, eager to capture whatever was about to happen. The man stopped just a few feet away, his gaze moving from Claire to the young woman beside him. His voice was calm when he finally spoke, but the weight behind it made every ear in the room strain to hear. The man's eyes lingered on the young woman in the purple dress, his expression softening for the briefest moment before turning sharp again. "What exactly happened here?" he asked, his voice steady but carrying an edge that made the air feel heavier. The crowd fell silent. Claire let out a short laugh, masking her unease. "Just protecting our standards," she replied, gesturing toward the clipboard in the woman's hands. "She doesn't belong here. She's clearly fishing for." She stopped when she noticed the way he was looking at her but with a quiet authority that could not be ignored. The young woman lowered her gaze, clearly torn between speaking and staying silent. She clutched the clipboard closer, as if it were a shield. Guests nearby began to murmur again, each forming their own version of the story. One whispered about a past connection between her and the man. Another speculated she was more important than she appeared. From the other side of the ballroom, a tall gentleman in a silver tie stepped forward, his eyes darting between the three. He looked like he wanted to intervene, but hesitated, as if unsure which side he should take. Every second felt stretched thin, and the tension was becoming almost unbearable. The man took a slow step closer, the sound of his polished shoes against the marble floor echoing in the hushed ballroom. Every pair of eyes followed his movements, breaths held as if the entire room had agreed to freeze in time. The young woman in purple looked up at him again, her lips parting slightly, as if she wanted to speak, but stopped herself. Her silence seemed to say more than words could. Claire's grip on her champagne glass tightened, her confident facade starting to crack. She could feel the weight of the crowd's attention shifting, their curiosity no longer leaning in her favor still. She straightened her shoulders and forced a smile. "I think we've wasted enough time," she said, trying to take control. but her voice trembled just enough for everyone to notice. The man's gaze didn't leave her, his expression unreadable. Behind them, the tall gentleman in the silver tie finally began moving closer, his face tense. Several guests lifted their phones higher, sensing they were seconds away from capturing something unforgettable. The golden light of the chandeliers seemed harsher now, shadows stretching across the walls. The room felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for the moment everything would shatter. Before anyone could speak, the tall gentleman in the silver tie suddenly called out, his voice carrying over the murmurs. "Wait before you say anything. There's something everyone here needs to know." The guests shifted, a ripple of intrigue moving through the crowd. Claire's eyes darted toward him, a flash of panic breaking through her composure. The young woman in the purple dress looked equally startled, as if whatever he was about to reveal could change everything. The man in the black suit turned slightly, his gaze sharp. "Go on," he said, his tone calm but with an undercurrent that suggested he already suspected what was coming. The silver-tie gentleman hesitated for just a moment before speaking again. "She's not who you think she is," he said, pointing toward the young woman. A wave of whispers surged instantly, the ballroom buzzing with speculation. Claire seized the moment, stepping forward with a smug smile. "Finally, someone willing to tell the truth," she said. But the man in the black suit didn't take his eyes off the silver-tied gentleman, clearly waiting for the full story. The tension in the air doubled, every guest leaning closer, desperate to hear the secret that could turn the entire night upside down. The silver-tied gentleman took a deep breath before speaking. "She's the owner of this entire event," he announced, his voice ringing clear in the stunned silence. Gasps echoed through the ballroom as dozens of guests turned toward the young woman in the purple dress, their expressions shifting from judgment to disbelief. Claire's smile faltered. Instantly, the color draining from her face. She opened her mouth to protest, but the man in the black suit raised a hand. Stopping her cold, "She's not just the owner," he continued, his tone carrying both pride and warning. "She's my wife." The crowd erupted into whispers again, cameras flashing as the truth landed like a shockwave. Claire stumbled back a step, her earlier confidence shattered. "That's impossible," she muttered, her voice barely audible. The young woman finally spoke, her voice calm yet powerful. "It's not impossible, Claire. It's just something you never cared to see." She handed her clipboard to an assistant and walked past Claire toward her husband, the crowd parting for her. But before the murmurs could fade, the silver-tied gentleman added one final blow. "And for the record, clear your seat on the board. It's already been given to her." The room fell silent, the weight of the twist hanging heavy in the golden light. Claire stood frozen, the weight of humiliation sinking deeper with every passing second. Guests who had once stood by her now avoided her gaze, shifting uncomfortably as the truth unraveled. The young woman in the purple dress, now revealed as the true host and wife of the man in the black suit, afforded Claire calm but steady look. "Kindness," she said softly, "isn't a weakness, but arrogance always comes with a price." The man placed a reassuring hand on his wife's shoulder, guiding her toward the center of the ballroom. Applause slowly began to fill the room, first from a few guests, then from nearly everyone. The energy shifted from tension to admiration. The crowd, now seeing the quiet strength they had overlooked all evening, Claire quietly slipped away, her golden dress catching the last glint of chandelier light before disappearing into the hallway. The silver-tied gentleman gave a small nod of respect to the couple before returning to his place among the guests. As the music resumed and laughter returned, the young woman glanced around the room, knowing this night would be remembered not for the insult, but for the lesson it carried that true power comes from dignity, not dominance.